Bitcoin's getting very close to that critical $90,000 price level, which is very, very interesting for us because if it can actually get up here, we could be seeing some reversals starting to take place in the market. And obviously, the main thing to be looking at isn't Bitcoin, it's actually the S&P 500, and it has been for a very, very long time. And with that in mind, we are actually looking at resistance up ahead on the S&P 500 at roughly the kind of same place that Bitcoin might find it. So again, just clear correlations happening between this major index and Bitcoin itself. And obviously that just tells us about the relationship of Bitcoin with money these days, where the same money that moves Bitcoin these days is the same money that moves the S&P 500, and that's why they move at the same times in the same ways. Okay, that's a really important baseline understanding. Many people in crypto don't have that understanding, and that is at their own peril, but you have it, so congratulations. Shout out to those of you that are subscribed to the YouTube channel and getting all this beautiful content, because yeah, it is a very, very important distinction to be able to keep in mind, and it will ground you in this market. Yesterday we saw a big move up on this, and I think this is important as well because, and like I said, guys, I don't like talking politics on this channel too much, but right now we just kind of have to. There's no way around it. You know, the thing that's interesting is obviously this whole crash kind of happened because of the tariff discussions. That was kind of like the reason behind it that everybody was kind of banking on. But the thing is, you know, especially with these tariff discussions that we've got in mind right here, ladies and gents, you know, we are still looking at a situation where the market did manage to not only recover, but it flipped a resistance level here, it turned it into support, and then it gapped up, which tells us that even in light of the tariff news, because we had more tariff news coming out yesterday, there's some, you know, there were some narratives that, you know, the news yesterday was a little bit more positive or whatever, but the point is it's still tariff news. It's the same thing that people were very, very upset about, but now people are getting better with it. You know, and to me, you know, that's basically just another way of saying that it was never about the tariffs in the first place. You know, if the same thing is now strengthening the market, you know, that resulted in the drop, then maybe, you know, the original idea just wasn't correct. And maybe a slightly more correct way of putting it is that the S&P 500 was already overextended. It had already breached its previous all-time high right here without any significant pullbacks since that happened. In fact, the biggest pullback that the S&P 500 got so far was a 9.2%, and so far we're at 10.4%. So again, we're just kind of in the realm of the kind of pullbacks that we had before. And obviously we were starting to look a little bit heavy, right? We were starting to spend a little bit too much time up there. But other than those kind of things that you can say about this chart, there's not a whole lot more that you can say, you know. And so to me, it was just always a technical issue from the very beginning. And I made that very clear with you guys on this YouTube channel. You know, a retracement made sense, and now we're starting to recover it. The same thing that people were scared about is now the same thing that they're saying the market is going up because of. So, you know, you can bank on that, but you can also just say that that just sounds silly. It's just starting to sound a bit stupid. And with that in mind, we don't want to, you know, be down those kind of trains of thoughts. So we're just keeping it grounded and very, very realistic. And to me, you know, this is a pretty clear example of, you know, the market kind of settling down after a correction. You know, obviously things were a little bit scary, but I think compared to the level of scary that things were, you know, the market just didn't drop that much, and now we're doing very, very well. So today is a little bit of a kind of retracement day for the S&P 500, and we're seeing the same thing across crypto as well. We have also seen Bitcoin's dominance fluctuate a little bit, but it's still looking poised to get higher. I mean, you know, just the body language of this chart, ladies and gents, I've been saying it since the absolute bottom. I had tons of people cross my path and tell me I'm wrong. Every single one of them turned out to be wrong so far, and it still looks to be the case. I mean, you know, with this kind of price action happening on Bitcoin's dominance chart, I mean, you know, if you're hitting these highs and you're punching in higher lows, you know, you're on a macro scale, you're punching in higher lows and higher highs, you know, and then when you're consolidating, you're just consolidating at the top. We're not consolidating. Bear in mind, guys, the price, the Bitcoin dominance level went all the way up here, or, you know, for candles, actually just came up to here at about 62%. But we're not consolidating down here or down here. We're consolidating at the Pico top, basically, right? I mean, you know, this is the actual top, but like in terms of, you know, candles, this is where we're consolidating. Like, this is the highest level you could possibly be consolidating at. You know, and when that happens, that's going to be a really clear example that the chart is about to drop. And we've seen tons of examples of this, right? I give you some really valid examples like here, where when the market kind of comes down on Ethereum against Bitcoin, you know, we don't start kind of coming up here and then consolidating above some really, really nice levels. No, we hit the floor and then we stay on the floor. I mean, maybe we get a scam pump, but for the most part, we're staying by the floor, and then we collapse below it. We make our way back up, but you know, it's already a done deal. And we see the same thing happening constantly, right? Look at this one right here. This is a really, really good example, actually, this one right here. Let's take a look at this. So we see the market coming back down to this level right here. The next time it comes back down, we're not consolidating up here. We're not consolidating up here. We're consolidating at the floor, okay? And that's going to be an implication that we're heading down on the next move. And you can look at this countless times, ladies and gents. This is how breakouts tend to happen. Here's another example right at the very, very end when Bitcoin is about to break out of this range. Where do we consolidate? Right at the top of the range, right in the top 25% of the range or so. So, that's how things typically go. It doesn't always go that way. See, we didn't consolidate at the top over here. We did consolidate very, very briefly right here. It's just, it's just body language of a chart, right? Like, we're not trying to make this like any voodoo magic shit or whatever. This is just literally, this is just us saying that if the market is strong enough to stay at a high level, or on the flip side, if it's weak enough to stay at a low level, then it's probably gonna, continue moving in that direction, right? Because the market's kind of getting accustomed to that level, and then it's going to be psychologically easier to take it to that next stage from there. So Bitcoin dominance perspective, still, look, I could be wrong, but I haven't really been wrong about this chart so far at all, which is, quite impressive. So we'll just have to see how that continues to go on. Obviously, phenomenal trading opportunities still in this market either way. And on that note, ladies and gents, you are getting some of the best offers possible with the links in the description down below. Bybit is still running. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it is still running. You got still a few more days to register for this competition right here, which is very, very cool. So definitely check this out. There's $1 million prize pool here. And if that's not something you're interested in, then it doesn't really matter, because you still get up to 30K in free capital when you start trading on Bybit using this link in the description below. You will only get the bonus after you start trading. Same for Blowfin, great bonuses, but only available after you start trading on that link, which is really, really cool. Again, only if you're not from a restricted region, okay? So definitely check your country's local laws and regulations. Make sure you're allowed to. Bybit also gives you a debit card, which you can spend anywhere in the world, and I've used it all over the world. Really, really cool, honestly, like kind of life-changing. So well worth checking that out as well if you are interested. Again, only if you are allowed to. But kind of bringing it back to these charts, I mean, we can take a look at Bitcoin real quick, on the note of these kind of opportunities. I mean, if we zoom in and take a look at what's been going on here, we did manage to hit a high at about kind of 88.7, call it 89, drop down to about 86.4. This is starting to bull flag now, right? So if we kind of continue to tighten up, then that's going to be a pretty clear next move to the upside on the way. It's bullish continuation. It's bullish consolidation inside of a kind of short-term uptrend. So short-term uptrends, when do we expect them to finish? We expect short-term uptrends to conclude when we reach a longer-term pivot level, okay? When we reach a longer-term reversal level, and that's pretty clear on this chart, where that pivot could be. We're looking at about kind of 1991, okay? So that's kind of, the range over there, where we could be finding a little bit of resistance. We found a ton of support there for the last months, so we certainly could find resistance here now. We did not find resistance here particularly well on our first attempt, but I don't think that that's going to be the same this time. I think we will find resistance here this time. Whether we break it or not is a different discussion, but I think there will be resistance here in the first place. And so that's going to be the kind of level where this short-term trend could exhaust itself, and that's going to be what I'm watching for. I think a lot of people are going to be interested in shorts in that level as well. So, if you got that kind of free money to trade with, then fuck it, right? You can just throw that anywhere you like. So that's cool. Obviously, not financial advice, and you got to do your own research and stuff like that. But I know that a lot of people do like to deploy that free money, on trades that are just maybe not that confident, but it also doesn't really matter, because you getting profits paid out anyway if it does make money, right? So you still win. But I do think that there's a risk here. I think that the risk is, that we could kind of overshoot it again. So, look, I think kind of up to 95, also makes sense, just as an entire kind of block. I still think that, this is a good block for resistance though. But again, I think it's more of an S&P 500 discussion. And so unfortunately, we do just have to start looking at politics again. If this chart, hits this area and finds resistance, then that's probably going to be the same for Bitcoin. But if the S&P just kind of breaks straight through it, then that could definitely, and that's what happened last time, right? I mean, we kind of closed like exactly where we are right now, and then we gapped up way, way higher. And this was right after Trump got elected. Like, this was actually, I think, the day that Trump got elected, wasn't it? Like November 5th or something. That makes sense. that was kind of the reason for that big jump. But the point is that we had a big jump in this kind of price range before. Now, are we going to get a news piece which is as bullish as Trump getting elected again right now, today, or in the next few days? Probably not, right? And so I don't really think that we're going to be gapping up that extremely, and that's why I think that there's some real potential for the SPX to find a little bit of resistance up here. And if that does happen, then we can just kind of look at where it might retrace down to. For Bitcoin, there are going to be a couple of support levels here. I think kind of the best one is going to be 84. It's the one that we've tested the most, and it is actually going to be the best area to be going long on, I think, for people that are kind of speculating some long positions here. That's going to be the best area to start looking at buying some BTC down at, in my opinion here, right? I mean, we could overshoot that by a little bit, but this looks like a pretty decent trade. It is mid-range, which to me makes it, a hell of a lot weaker than a trade which is not in the middle of a range, and by middle, I mean 90K and 72K, or, 68K or whatever. This is kind of like in the middle, and that's, that's not typically the safest kind of trade setup you can find, but if you're worried about safety to that extent, you probably just wouldn't have been trading at all, which honestly might even be a good thing. But it really depends on the individual trader's trading style, right? Some people they want to be in the markets a little bit more often, so they just can't really afford to be that picky. And I think those people are probably going to be looking for longs down here, and I think I might as well. I mean, fuck it, it's still a good level, so that's something that remains to be seen. Let's take a look at some of our key indicators. We've got the Ichimoku cloud here on the 4-hour, which we've broken, which is absolutely fantastic. However, on the daily, we haven't even hit it yet, and it is shaping up to be resistance as we approach April. So not yet. We do still have a window, but if we don't use this window of opportunity, and let's say we do something a little bit like this could then become a little bit harder to break, and could result in something more like that. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind as well as we continue to go on in this market. On the weekly, we haven't even hit support. So it's a chart that's kind of in the middle in a few ways, in more ways than one. Getting above 90 would give us a lot of clarity and make us very, very bullish again, in my opinion. And getting below, kind of 70 or getting down to 70 would be, just a phenomenal generational buy opportunity for me. But obviously, could be a little bit scary for most people. I still welcome it. That's still what I want to see most of all on this chart. I don't think I'm going to get it, so, I'm not really holding my breath, but if we do get it, that would be really, really nice all the way down to, even 60. You just can't make me bearish on this chart. I'm sorry. I've been doing this shit for 8 years. I know what I'm talking about at this point. And 40% corrections, as much as people get scared, are really not they're not a bad thing. In Bitcoin, other markets, sure, you kind of have to question if it's that strong, then why would it drop by that much? You know what I mean? So I can understand why people might kind of do that, but that's not really what's going on here. I think for Bitcoin, those kind of corrections are not only normal, like we've seen over here with a minus 55, but they're also healthy. So that's kind of my take on that situation right there. As far as altcoins go, though, let's take a look at those and see what we're kind of looking at over there. Just kind of quickly scroll through a couple of them. Let's see. So Ethereum, sitting at 2,000 flat right now. Kind of just waiting, isn't it, just to see what the rest of the market does, and especially Bitcoin. Ethereum's kind of the most hated coin in crypto right now. That makes me really want to buy it. But looking at its Ethereum Bitcoin chart, it is capturing resistance right now. So, that could definitely result in another kind of drop down. Like I said, I think these are great levels to be buying. Personally, I haven't, kind of done that yet, but, I think this is like really hard to go. How does this not make money in the next 6 months, 1 year? You know what I mean? Like that would be, especially against Bitcoin, right? I'm not saying it go up against the dollar, but I also think that's going to happen too. But against Bitcoin especially, I just think it's kind of, exceedingly obvious at this point that, this is a good kind of long-term level. But, Bitcoin dominance-wise, if this shit rips up to like 70, then that's kind of, another death sentence for Ethereum. It can get like much worse from here. It can, we could see Ethereum dropping down to, kind of 0.17. I mean, these are, like quite impressively low price levels for Ethereum against Bitcoin. I don't really know if the market would give them to us, but I wouldn't rule it out either. I wouldn't be so cocky as to rule it out either. Let's look at Trump coin. He tried to pump his shitcoin the other day. That didn't really work out for him. It's looking a little bit like XRP now, isn't it? So not right now, obviously XRP of the past. This is not looking good, really, is it? I mean, this is another bear flag. So if Bitcoin gets shot, then then Trump coin is really going to struggle. I think Trump coin is going to be, we're going to see basically single digit values for sure, like deep into the single digits, like $8, $7 or something. I think would be very realistic if Ethereum, if Bitcoin managed to drop down again now, because it's just it's a Bitcoin dominance question thing, right? I mean, these coins are not gaining strength while Bitcoin is gaining strength, and that's the problem. A lot of these coins are going to stay largely where they are. Solana is a bit of an exception. Solana hasn't really done that. It's actually done quite well. From its low, it's up by about 30% in only 2 weeks, so that's obviously quite fantastic. Obviously, it's down by a lot, so a little bit less fantastic from that perspective. Solana is going to start brushing up with a couple of resistance levels in this range. It kind of already has, and it's done well, so that's a good sign. But there is going to be a little bit more as it gets up to about 160. So we're just going to have to see how this goes. So far it looks like this was a low that has been punched in, so we'll have to kind of keeping an eye on that. Doge ended up falling all the way down. Let's take a look at this. What did Doge fall down to 14 cents, and it's now sitting at about 19.20. This is a good level. If Doge holds this level, it's good. Otherwise, it's looking pretty bad for Doge. But I mean, this is kind of the bounce that you would have expected. It's the best case scenario as far as a bounce could have gone as well. So, that's also a good sign. I think this is also just another kind of wait and see. And that's kind of where this market is, man. Like, I mean, I haven't really been uploading that much lately as well. I mean, I could come on and just repeat myself every single day. And largely, even though I don't upload every day, that's what I'm doing. But at the same time, I just don't think it's necessary. And I honestly think, a lot of you guys would probably benefit from staying away from the markets a little bit, if you've been struggling in this period here, because, this is not a good time to be a trader. I'll be honest with you guys. There are opportunities, but, it's just not as nice as it has been, and it's not as nice as it will be in the future, I think. So, that's what I'm looking for. It's an S&P 500 question. We can spend as much time as we want looking at these charts all day long, but, we're not really going to achieve anything particularly impressive. Here's XRP BTC. It's still looking really, really good, ladies and gents. I mean, this chart right now in the short-term perspective is looking fantastic, for the next, couple of weeks, couple of months. Definitely, incredibly strong. I don't really see this dropping after everything that's happened. I just think that its performance has been so strong that I don't really see it coming below, kind of $2 anytime soon. It could happen. I just don't think it's going to happen soon. It probably will happen. But again, I don't think it's going to happen soon. So, that's kind of, that's what I'm seeing right there. With XRP, like I said, it's all eyes on the S&P 500. Really, we got gold still sitting above $3,000. We got the US dollar index sitting at 104, starting to capture a little bit of resistance here as well. So it is what it is. There's not a whole lot more we could say than that, and I'm not going to bore you by repeating more stuff. So if you have enjoyed this video, I hope you do smash up those likes, subscribe to the build, all the good stuff. Get inside a Bybit's $1 million prize pool if you do want to get some cool bonuses. Like I said, by the way, this is just the same trading you're going to do anyway, right? So if you're already trading in this in these price ranges, then you got no downside for enrolling into this competition, but you do have upsides, which is really, really nice. And then obviously, if you're not even signed up yet, there are tons of cash bonuses on these exchanges linked down below, which you can check out if you are allowed to, based on your country's local laws and regulations. But with that, ladies and gents, really hope you have enjoyed this video. You know what to do. I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.